Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Corolla. In this video, I'll be talking about my planner lineup update as well as my journals as of April 2022. So we've gone through the first quarter of this year, and I'm happy to say that I've actually stuck with most of the planners that I started off the year with. If you're not familiar with my lineup for this year, I'll link the video below where I introduce the planners and journals that I wanted to use throughout the year. But here's a quick preview of the four planners that actually made it to my Q2 lineup. So we'll start off with Hemlock Oak. Hemlock Oak is a Canadian-based, designed and made in Canada planner, and since I'm Canadian, I'm happy to use their planner. I started off the year using it for planning my social media content, and I'm happy to say that I'm still using it for that purpose every day and every week. I love the weekly layout. The grid spacing gives me enough space to plan out monthly content and launches, as well as it gives me some reflection pages at the end of the month and for the beginning of the month. What I really like about this planner is the design itself is very sophisticated and classy, and it's intuitive to use. So it has some prompts to get you to reflect and plan out content, but it also has a lot of free space to plan and use it however you like. Currently, I'm using minimal decor in it, so basically a pen and some stickers and washi. But its main purpose is to keep me organized and to document what I post across my social media, and I have to say that this planner does that for me. Next, we have my bullet journal, which is the bullet journal addition to collab with Leuchtturm 1917. I started off the year using my Archer and Olive Traveler's Notebook size as my bullet journal because I started it in November 2021, and so it continued until the end of February of this year, and I began March in the bullet journal. And even though I actually enjoyed the Traveler's Notebook size, I decided that I would try the A5 bullet journal just to give me a little bit more space to put down more thoughts and ideas that came to my mind throughout the day. And I have to say that I actually do enjoy the A5. I'm not sure if I'll stick to an A5 as my next bullet journal, but as you can see, I made use of all the space that comes in an A5, and I decided to try different types of spreads and layouts. The current one that I have for April of 2022 is pretty functional, but also has a lot of color and is decorative, and it brings in elements that really work for me in a bullet journal and makes it functional for me, and something that I pull out at any time of the day to record my thoughts and tasks that need to get done. And this bullet journal actually gets me through the day and keeps me productive. So it is an important part of my planner lineup. Next, we have this cute My Emoti Planner by TheCoffeeMonsterzCo, which I started off this year thinking it would be sort of a little notebook to have by my side just to use for prompts, journal prompts and things like that. And I have to say that I actually use it daily. I record things that just happen throughout the day that I want to reflect on later, or that I want to journal about, or add into my memory keeper. And I'll talk a little bit more about memory keeping and journaling later on when I talk about my journal lineup. But for now, this is sort of partly my planner, partly my record keeper. Last but not least in my lineup of planners that I use daily is the Hobonichi Weeks. I use the weeks to record financial tracking as well as pre-planning or future planning. So anytime I have to write down an event or appointment that's coming up, I'll put that in my weeks, and then later I'll put it where it needs to go. And I found this to be useful in tracking my spend, as well as pre-planning for what's going to go into my bullet journal. So looking forward, monthly log, as well as spend tracking. I don't know if I necessarily need the weeks, and I don't know if I'll continue it for the rest of the year, but for now, I love the layout of it, and I find it super handy to have. Moving on to my journals and other notebooks. This is kind of the fun part for me because I like playing around with notebooks and finding different purposes for them and seeing if they work for me in my life. And so far, I found that these notebooks and journals really work for me and what I want to get out of them. So let's take a closer look. So first I have the Hobonichi Weeks that I use for tracking my kids' development. I also had a Weeks last year, which worked really well. I'm continuing to use it this year, and I use it every single day. I also have a monthly overview that I use for them. And basically I just track things they eat, the sleep they've had, all the things that, I want to look back on years to come, as well as a weekly summary of just, the quirky things that they do as kids, things that I want to remember, basically. Next up is something I just added to my lineup, but I am in love with it, and it's the Plotter Mini. They just released it. Plotter is pretty new. They're from Japan, but they are also in the US now. It's a very slim ringed binder. I don't do rings personally in my lineup. I've done it in the past, but I don't like how rings are so bulky to write with. But I find that the plotter rings are almost non-existent. You don't really feel that they're there when you're writing. The paper is ultra thin, so you can fit quite a few in there. It also comes with paper envelopes and project manager folders, so you can organize thoughts and tasks accordingly. I'm currently using the Plotter Mini for content and ideas, and I like just jotting down ideas that come to mind, whether it's video ideas or things for social media, and then transferring them where it needs to go. Then I have the Hobonichi 5-year techo, which I'm using as my gratitude practice. So every day I go in and just put in one line of something I'm grateful for. Recently, I actually started using watercolor, so you can see where the papers are crinkly. I kind of like that texture, so we'll see what a full year of watercolor would look like in the Hobonichi. I enjoy putting down watercolor paint on Tomoe River paper because it gets that crinkly feeling, and then using a fine liner on top to just draw flowers. And I haven't done it every single day, but I do it almost every day, and I've enjoyed the process so far, and I look forward to coming back to it every year and adding just a little bit more and having a sort of collage at the end of the 5 years. So something that I started doing in November of 2021 is writing morning pages. The concept comes from the book The Artist's Way by Julie Cameron, where she talks about just coming in every morning to a book and writing down your thoughts as they come to mind without really editing them and just going with the flow. And I've done that every morning, almost every morning actually. And I love the process of it because it relieves some of the worries and thoughts that jumble up overnight. And it lets you sort of free your mind for new ideas and new thoughts throughout the day. And I'm doing this in my Archer and Olive dot grid notebook. I love the extra thick paper. It's great with fountain pens for the most part. And it's something that I'm going to continue for as long as I can. Something else I've been doing for a while now is long form journaling. So when a big event or milestone happens, or I have a lot of thoughts about something, I will come into my B5 Stalogy and just do some long form journaling and write down all of my thoughts, The B5 is a large size, so I don't see myself using it every single day, which is probably why I've been in this notebook for since the end of 2020, I think. So I still have a ways to go, but it's great for fountain pens. And if you want to know a little bit more about Stalogy and the notebooks that I use that are from Stalogy, I can link the video below that will talk more about it. And finally, in my lineup of journals and other notebooks that I'm using this year is the Hobonichi Avec in A5. Last year I used an A6 Techo. This year I upgraded for more space, and it's housed in this beautiful undyed leather cover from Galen Leather. And with it, I can keep fountain pens that I'm using that week, as well as brush pens and other gel pens and stickers. So the Avec is basically my archive of this year. Everything that happened on a monthly, weekly, and daily view. So in the monthly overview, I basically put in the events, appointments, and birthdays. In the weekly view, I put in highlights of that week at a top level, and the daily pages are for me to journal about events that happened throughout the day. And so far, I'm enjoying using the Avec, and I like that it's broken down into 2 books for the year, and I can't wait to keep using it. I also love using different fountain pens with it, so every week I choose different fountain pens that are inked up with ink colors that I want to use, as well as the Energel Klena and a couple of Tombow dual brush pens just for some decor and headers. And I love that I can sort of keep everything together in this one book and book cover. And that's my journal lineup. So something that I didn't think I would use this year was the Passion Planner Daily, but I found that I actually turn to it when I have really busy days or on weekends when a lot of stuff is going on. And I find it useful because it has a timeline column, but then it has all this extra space to write down reminders and notes and ideas that I can later transfer to my bullet journal or my journal or anywhere else. And this has sort of replaced the use of my Passion Planner Weekly. So I don't really use that as much anymore, but the Passion Planner Daily, as well as my regular bullet journal, have sort of been my daily use planners. And that's my lineup of planners and journals going into Q2 of 2022 as of April. And this lineup can, of course, change at any time, but I will keep you posted and share with you my learnings and what I enjoy using. If you want to know any specifics about the planners and journals that I talked about, let me know in the comments and I can share more content. Bye!